Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Student Leader Orientation for the Cockatoo React class. We've got your cohort instructional leader, Roy Mosby, on the call with us as well. You probably recognize us from student orientations, but in case you missed student orientation, I'm a class coordinator, so I do sort of the behind the scenes organizational stuff, and Roy Mosby is your cohort instructional leader. So he's in charge of your class specifically. So if you need anything, feel free to reach out to Roy first. If there's anything that I need to get involved with, I'm happy to help out as well. And we'll go ahead and get rolling. What is the goal of our student leader program? We really want to be able to build community within your cohort, help keep students on track. Sometimes if you have somebody, a buddy in your class that you're accountable with as far as, hey, did you get the homework done? Yeah, I did too. Okay, great. Then it kind of helps keep everybody on pace with the class. And then for those of you that are the student leaders, then you can help develop your leadership skills as far as how to work with others, how to organize information for people, how to communicate well, all those helpful leadership, important soft skills. All right, so the expectations that we have for you as student leaders is to keep up with the material yourself. We know there might be a week or here that you're turning an assignment one day late or something like that, and that's okay. If you're falling behind in class though, then we'll check in with you, and we'll also possibly take you off the student leader responsibility because we want you to be able to get your good learning. If it's too much to balance the student leader with class, we'd rather that you focus on class and make sure that you're doing well with the class and learning your developer skills. But otherwise, if you're able to keep up with it and everything's good, then that's perfectly fine. Maintain a level of confidentiality. So as student leaders, then you may have other classmates confiding in you about at-home struggles or things like that. So be sure to keep confidentiality person to person unless it's something that needs to be shared with Roy or myself. So that way we can help intervene as far as like getting them a computer if they've had a loss of job and loss of equipment or anything like that. And we need to help get them resources and share that information to the extent that we can help get them the help that they need. Check in with other student leaders for support so you all can always lean on each other. We will have you be hosting student-led study sessions as part of your student leader duties. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. You're welcome to do those together. So in past classes, we've had 2 student leaders do a student study session together. If you're wanting to do that, that's totally fine, but lean on each other if you need any help. We want you to be sure that you're exemplifying all of those Code the Dream values of inclusion, community growth, and impact, and we'll talk about what that looks like in the student leader role a little bit later. We figure you'll spend about 3 hours per week on the tasks for student leader duties. We do not ever expect you to answer technical questions that you don't know the answers to, or if you feel like you're not certain of the answer, you don't have to share that information with students. Just say, you know, I'm really not sure. That's something that you should check with Roy or check with a mentor about. And we don't expect you to fix any student problems. So if they are having any kind of issues with, they don't have a stable internet connection, they don't have a working computer, they don't have childcare, they don't have, anything along those lines, that's not your problem to fix. Be sure to bring that to Roy and or myself, so that way we can touch base with the student and help get them whatever they need to be able to stay on track with class. Questions about what's expected of you? Feel free to unmute and ask or drop things in the chat at any point in time if you have any questions throughout the whole thing tonight. Okay, I'm going to keep on keeping on. Okay, so let's talk about those core values, inclusion, community, growth, and impact. Be sure that you're being welcoming to your peers and making sure that everybody feels included in the group and not having any kind of like isolation or division within the class. That also kind of goes hand in hand with community. Lean on each other for support. You all are spread out across, I think, 8 different time zones around the globe. So it can definitely be tricky to be in a tight community or to have that community feel when you're the only person in your time zone on the other side of the world. So being able to asynchronously connect with people is really helpful. Growth, sometimes there's a fine line between helping people find the answers and giving people the answers. So be sure that you're staying towards the side of that line where it's helping students find their resources for them to find and understand the material. You definitely don't want to be giving people answers or helping them with shortcuts that are going to gloss over the learning that they need to do to really understand the concepts of class. And then impact, having that positive influence with your peers and being a role model is really important to be able to kind of help demonstrate good learning behaviors, good study behaviors, good time management skills, things like that. So having that positive impact in your class is always important too. Questions up to now? Okay. All right, so your responsibilities are a threefold and they're pretty easy to remember. Step up, study up, and follow up. So step up is just being helpful, friendly, and kind to your classmates. If people post questions, help direct them to answers, like if they forgot where to find the assignment submission form, if they need the link for the coding assignment for that week and they are having trouble finding it in the Slack feed or things like that, then just be helpful and friendly. Study up. So you'll host a 1-hour study hall session each week. The study halls are not intended for you to be teaching the lesson material or anything like that. It's just for you to be a moderator for students to be able to join during the study hall. And then if somebody missed a mentor session and somebody else had notes from a mentor session, then those students can share that information in the study hall. If anybody has questions like I'm working on assignment for lesson whatever, and they say to do this, but I don't understand what they're talking about, then you can kind of help iron that out. We do have a lot of multilingual students in the class, so it may be that you just need to facilitate that study hall opportunity for students that are both same language speakers can join and meet together to be able to go over things in their own language. So it's really just a 1-hour online session for people to be able to kind of come and study together. And then follow up. So students who have fallen behind with the pace of the class, will be letting you know who those students are. So that way you can reach out to those individuals. You won't have to reach out to everybody because there are 13 of you and there's 30 students in the class. So we don't need 13 people reaching out to everybody. So you'll just pick one student that's listed of somebody that's fallen behind and just check in with that person, or pick a couple students and check in with those individuals to be able to say, hey, is everything going okay? Are you getting behind in class? Are there things that we can help with? How's everything going? That kind of a thing. Questions about the student leader responsibilities? Thanks for joining us, Mariana. I am recording, so you can always look back at the first few minutes. All right, we'll keep on rolling then. So this just kind of goes into more in depth of the step up as far as, send occasional motivational messages or conversation starters. You all have that Chimp Cockatoo outlet Slack channel, and that'll be really important for you all to have some activity and conversation going in that, especially in the latter half of the class, because towards the end of your classes is when you all will be forming and picking your own groups of what other classmates and what classmates from the node class you all would like to use to form your small groups for the practicum portion of class. So definitely as we're getting halfway through and towards the end, have some conversation starters like, what's an app you'd really love to build? What's the coolest site you've seen on the internet? What's the most helpful tool you use? Things like that. You can help identify resources that other students might need to point them in the right direction. So if somebody's really struggling with GitHub or with Git version control, there are cheat sheets in the student resources page. There might be things that you've used that you can point people to, like, oh, this tutorial really helped me wrap my head around that concept. So feel free to share any information like that in the discussion channel for Cockatoo class. And then if there are any questions where, or situations where it's obvious that the student needs more help or more support, encourage them to sign up for one-on-one sessions, talk to Roy so that way he can arrange more consistent or thorough meetings to help students that are struggling with any concepts get a clearer picture of the material, things like that. Questions about step up portion at all? Okay. So for the study up, it's going to be hosting that weekly 1-hour study session. You get to pick the day and time for whatever works best for you. So if it's an hour that you were already going to be devoting to working on your classwork, then that's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to be anything fancy for the study session. It can even just be sort of like a a library hours is kind of what we do on the Code the Dream staff side of things, where everybody just hops on a remote call together. They play some easy listening music in the background, and we can all kind of dive into our work. But if somebody has a question or fun thing they want to share, they can be like, hey, I just saw such and such about React components. This was really cool. I'll share the link in the chat. So it doesn't have to be anything formal. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but we just want it to be a space where students can join and kind of be together online if need be. You'll be communicating when your sessions are going to be so we can add them to the mentor session sign up sheet. So over this week, think about what day and time is going to be a consistently good day and time. Talk to each other. If you want to pair up and 2 or 3 of you do a session together, that's fine too. So iron out all those kinks and let us know the day and time you'd like your session to be. And then at the end of your study session, just fill out a short form, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute too. Just to be able to say these are the people who were in attendance. So if students aren't making mentor sessions, but they are making student study sessions, that still counts as a positive towards their attendance records. So yeah, it's helpful for us to know who's attending your sessions. Also on that form, you'll be able to let us know if we need to follow up with particular students or if we need to follow up on particular items, like if there was a typo in the class instructions or if there's a broken link on the class webpage or things like that. And you can always share that information in your study session so we know about any boo-boos we need to fix. Okay. Questions about the 1-hour study session portion of the student leader responsibility? All right. And then lastly is the follow-up. This one's a little bit more involved. So keep all personal information or situations confidential. Only share the information that needs to be shared. If somebody needs a new computer, let us know so that way we can reach out to resources that we have in different communities to see if we can sync them up with like refurbishment services or things like that. I've had some students that knew that they weren't going to make their internet bill for the week or for the month, and so they knew there was going to be a little gap of a couple weeks when they didn't have internet access at their house. So I was able to look up like libraries and coffee shops in their area and send them those links, so that way they know of places where there was free Wi-Fi that they'd be able to utilize, things like that. So we'll put a message in your student leader Slack channel. Royal post which students are behind schedule for following along with the class. You'll use a little raise hand emoji to say, I'm going to be the student leader who's going to contact that particular student that's behind. And then you'll just reach out to them by Slack message within 24 hours of you putting the raised hand emoji on their name. And then once you've heard back from them, then you just put a little check mark so that way we know that you did get response back from them. If you haven't heard back from them within a day of you sending a message, try them one more time. And if you still haven't heard back, then let Roy know, hey, I tried twice to reach this person who's behind in class. I haven't heard anything from them. So that way he can email them directly and follow up, because maybe they're just not comfortable using Slack. Maybe they're not seeing their Slack messages, but they will see their email, that kind of thing. So let's dig into that a little bit deeper. This is the emoji key, and I'm going to have that in your student leaders channel as well. I've got it scheduled to post at 6:30, so you'll see that in your student leader Slack channel as far as what little icons you use for what. So say you check in with somebody, you do the raise hand, you send them the message, and then they get back to you within a day and say, yeah, I'm just really busy this week. Then you can put just a little clock emoji so that way we know, okay, it's just a one-off that they're behind on things and they'll be back on track. If they're going through some personal issues or if they have a technical question that they need help from and that's why they're behind on their work, then the question mark indicates to us, okay, we need to get a mentor to be able to reach out to them to help them through whatever their issue is for understanding that concept or getting through that coding blocker. The personal issues thing, then we know, okay, it might be a couple of weeks in a row that they're behind or late on assignments, and that's okay. And just to kind of keep an eye out for them. And the SOS would be like, if they're like, this is just really too much for me, I'm really overwhelmed, I think I need to quit, then that's perfectly fine. Put them in touch with Roy and I so that way we can let them know, okay, here's when the next class will be beginning. Maybe that'll just align better for you as far as what's going on in your life and when you can continue with the class. Questions about sort of that breakdown? Again, you'll have that pinned to your student leaders channel, so that way it'll be easy for you to find if you need to refer back to it.
Yeah, sorry, I have a quick question.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the question mark one, the connecting to the mentor, is that something we are doing? We're connecting them to like whoever is available?
Nope, you just put the question mark on there, and then Roy will take care of, either Roy or I will take care of contacting mentors in the class and being like, hey, so-and-so was, student leader checked in with Bob. Bob's having trouble with understanding class components. Is anybody available? He's in this time zone. Can you connect with him? So it's just letting us know that we need to go ahead and connect them with a mentor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Punkti. Any other questions about emojis or follow-ups?
How
Oh, yeah.
many times do you follow up before you stop?
Oh, sure. So just twice. So you'll put the raised hand emoji and you'll contact that individual. Give them a day. If you haven't heard back in a day, then just send one more message and say, hey, just checking in. I wasn't sure if you saw my last message or not, kind of a thing. If they still haven't responded after you've sent them 2 messages within a 48-hour time span, then let Roy know. So that way we can follow up with them through another means besides Slack.
Okay,
Perfect. And actually, this kind of goes over that, so that's perfect. If no response within a day, send another Slack message. No response within a day from that, notify Roy. Only do the check mark once you've heard from them. And I think our example prompts that we'll post when we start posting the list of students after, it won't be until middle of week 2 is when we'll see if anybody's not turned in week 1 assignment yet. So we'll put a little sort of canned message of here's something that you can just copy and paste and send to them if you have trouble finding the right words. So I've got some additional resources that I'm going to be bookmarking on your student leaders page. In the Slack channel, there'll be the pre-class information page, which has the videos of like how to use Slack, how to use GitHub, how to use Zoom, and like how to ask questions, learning tips, things like that. So that link will be on your student leader Slack channel. I have a document that's frequently asked questions that you can always turn to. If somebody has a question and you're not sure how to answer it, you can take a look on that document to see. And then the mentor session sign up sheet that can be helpful. Like you can just send them the link to the mentor session sign up sheet that has links to those one-on-one sessions, and it has the days and times of when sessions will be held. And then of course your study session form, there'll be a link on your Slack channel to be able to complete that. Okay, let's get visuals on some of these so that way it'll make a little bit more sense. So resources that you can share with students, obviously in the learn.codethedream.org website, we've got student resources here. So students can always be reminded, hey, there's some great tools here as far as GitHub cheat sheets or things like that. VS Code cheat sheets, anything along those lines. So you can always send students to this direction if they're looking for resources to, learn a little bit more about a concept. And then in your class, pre-class information, did somebody have a question? No, okay, all right. In the pre-class information page, then that's where it has the links about like learning tips and class etiquette and how to ask for help, for efficient ways of asking for help. And then if they're just struggling with like working with Slack, working with GitHub, working with Zoom, then there are those resources on there for them too. Okay, and then the frequently asked question page that I'll have linked on your Slack channel too. It's just a document as far as like, where do I find my lessons? Lessons are on the class website. Where's my coding assignment? Where do I find my mindset assignment? Where's the mentor session schedule? So this is sort of just a list of questions that I would get on the regular from students in previous classes. What do I do if my mentor doesn't show up for my session? Who do I contact if I'm not getting reviewer feedback on my assignments? Where should I find my reviewer feedback? All of that kind of stuff. So it's just sort of procedural questions that I tended to get. So that'll be available in case you need to refer to that. And then lastly is that study session form. So let's say Pakti has her session on, January 9th. So you just put in the date and then you add in your name and then pick your class for which class you're with. Whoops, I always misspell Cockatoo. And then participants, you'll just pick out the students that are in your class that attended. This is going to be a pretty huge list to start with because we've got 7 classes going on right now. But you can always find names by starting to type. So like if Min was in the session with you, Pankti, then you could select Min, and then you can add, let me find somebody else that's not a student leader, Almira. So if Almira Koshkina, then you would do Almira Koshkina, so on and so forth. I need to deactivate the Cassiopeia records. So if you see multiple, like Almira had 2 records, one for Cassiopeia, and then she had one for Cockatoo. So you would just select the one for the Cockatoo class, but I'll be clearing out all those Cassiopeia records too, so they won't be in your list. So you just add those in. If something came up during the study session that's like, oh yeah, we really need Roy's advice on this, or we'd love a mentor to give a workshop on this topic or things like that, then just put yes, that there should be something that we need to follow up with either a participant in your study session or follow up with students in general on, and then just give us further details. So like if Bob needs help with class components, then you can just put there, or you can say a whole group wants more info on React hooks or something. So you can just put any of that information in and then just click submit. Roy will be monitoring. Actually, he won't need to monitor because I've got an automation set up. Anytime you mark yes on here, then Roy will get an email copy of whatever those further details are. So that way he knows what he needs to follow up on. Let me take a look at Slack really quick to be able to show you sort of what that's looking like. I need to go to an old class though, Dorado student leaders, to kind of give you an example. Okay, so towards the end of the week, probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whenever works best for Roy, he'll be taking a look to see what students are behind on getting their assignments turned in. And then he'll post something similar to what I've got here as far as below, find a list of students who aren't on track with the class. Remember to use a raised hand emoji of some variety to signal that you're the person who's going to be contacting that student. And that way we won't have multiple student leaders contacting the same person. And then use the check mark once you've heard back from them. And then we'll have the pinned information as well to be able to show you these are the little icons that you'll use for the various things. And then we'll just at the student's name. So that way all you have to do is click on the student's name and then click message. And it'll pull up a new message for you to be able to send a message to that student to be like, hey, I'm one of your student leaders. I'm just checking in on you. How's everything going with class? Is there anything you need help with? That kind of went a little bit fast. Does anybody need me to go over that again or want more information about this portion of how it will work in Slack? So if you see a name with a raised hand emoji, sorry, with a raised hand emoji underneath it, then it means another student leader's already contacted that person. So you don't have to worry about contacting them. But if there isn't any reaction underneath their name, then go ahead and add one and contact them. So Roy will be able to see, like for Attica, then Alberto Rice was the person who raised his hand to say, I'm a student leader who's going to contact Attica to check on them and see how they're doing. And then Alberto preferred to just put in replies as far as I haven't heard back from them kind of a thing. So you can do that, or you can just DM Roy directly and say, hey, I reached out to this student and I haven't heard anything back from them. Elijah was one of the students that was behind in Dorado. Alberto reached out and he heard back from him. So everything was good to go with that. You'll see a couple of folks, they were just short on time because it was a busy time for them, that kind of a thing. Questions about that process? All right, so I already have your student resources and your student study session form links up here. So in the student leaders channel, you can just click on the student study session form and it'll pull up that study session form that I just showed you as far as putting down the day you had your session, name, class, so on and so forth. And then I think, was there a question in? No, no question so far. Okay. And I'll add in some more of those links for you as far as like the frequently asked questions and things like that. I just hadn't gotten a chance to do it before our meeting tonight. Okay. I think, come on. Don't lock up on me now. Oh, actually, okay, that was the end of our additional resources. I feel like, did I skip a slide? No, I guess not. Okay, questions and answers. I'll go ahead and stop sharing for the moment. Does everybody feel comfortable as far as like what's expected? And
Hello.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have questions. So for the study session form, how do we know that who's the person that's gonna
Excellent.
be in our sessions? I don't
That is
see
an
that.
excellent question. Yeah, let me go ahead and share screen again, and I'll just pull up your mentor session sheet, so that way you'll know. Okay, so we've got our Cockatoo mentor session sheet. So right now, like these are the mentor sessions. When you all let me know what days and times you want to have your study sessions, then I'll be adding columns to it, and I'll just put student study session at the top and then your name, so that way they know who the student leader is that's hosting it. And then I'll have meet at time. And then we'll put in the time zones, so that way people know which time they need to be joining depending on what time zone they're in. And then the students that want to attend your session, they'll go ahead and sign up just like you all are doing for mentor sessions. Does that help make a little more sense?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so it'll
And
look
yeah,
kind of like a mentor
some-
session, but it'll be notated that it's a student study session. Sorry, go ahead, Ming.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just have one more question. So so from my understanding, we're gonna have 15 of us, like the student leaders in our
Yeah.
class. So there would be like 15 sessions that we're gonna host for each week.
Not
Like
you, not each individual one. So it won't be like 15 sessions that all student leaders have to be attended to. So you would just decide what day and time do I want to just be online and available to students. So if like Wednesday nights at 6 o'clock your time is the best time, that I'll put, okay, Meen's going to have a session Wednesday night, 6 o'clock her time. And then I'll convert those other times, so that way people know for them what time zone it'll be. And then students will sign up. And so it'll just be you and whatever students sign up. It doesn't have to be all of the student leaders joining. So if Pankti's got a session on Thursday night for her student study session, you don't need to join Pankti's session. That'll just be her session. If you all wanted to go in on it together, and have 2 or 3 student leaders on one session together, then you can do that too. So like if you and Veronica and Pankti all want to have a student study session together Wednesdays at 6, because that time works for you all, then that's totally fine. And you all can just be on the call together, the 3 of you, and any other students that join, then they'll be joining your session. Does that help make it a little more clear?
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. Yeah. It's just a way to be able to offer more times when students can get together to either confer with another student that might have notes from a mentor session, or get clarification or help from other students that might be at different levels or different paces of the class. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So for the sessions, does it need to be a consistent time every week, or can we change it?
Preferably consistent each week, but if you do need to change it, that's fine. Just let Roy or I know and we'll update the schedule for that week. So that way they know usually your Wednesdays at 6, this week you need to be Friday at 5, and we can change it for whatever you need it to be. Good question.
I'll also reach out weekly just to confirm these things too, so they don't go slipping through the cracks.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions? Everybody feeling excited, feeling nervous, you want to share how you're feeling about being a student leader, about embarking on class? I see some excited reactions popping up there. Nice. And Roy and I are here for you, so if you have questions, feel free to reach out. Sorry, I just interrupted.
So, a student is considered that's fallen behind if they haven't submitted how many assignments, or just one, or what's considered falling behind?
Yeah, so if a student hasn't submitted their assignment that's due for that week by like Thursday or Friday, it'll depend on when Roy's available for being able to check student progress. If they haven't submitted their assignment by the time he's checking student progress to where they have all of the assignments that they should have turned in by that point turned in, then we'll have them on the list. So you won't see names of students listed until the middle of week 2, because you all have until this coming Tuesday, the 10th, to submit your first assignment. So if Roy's checking on like Thursday, Friday, 12th, 13th, that gives a little bit of wiggle room in case anybody is just a day late. submitting their assignments in. But if it's approaching the weekend following the date due and they haven't turned in that assignment, then their name will be on that list.
Okay, perfect.
It's really helpful in the past classes that we've had. It's been really helpful to have student leaders doing this outreach because there have been a number of classes that I handled in my first year in this role where I'd reach out to students and nobody'd reply and nobody'd reply. And I wasn't sure if it was like they didn't want to talk to me because I was administration and it was a little intimidating or, you know, what the situation was. But since we've added the student leaders component to classes, then students have been better about being communicative about like, this is just a really crazy time in my life. Can I put it off and I'll take the next class? Or I'm really struggling with this concept, or your lessons are in English and I'm Spanish speaking primary language. And so I'm really struggling with the lesson materials. What else can you do to help me? And we've been able to find all of those sort of like cracks in the program or difficulties that we have just in our program being the way that it is, and help kind of get some putty in those cracks and seal things up and get things a little bit more smoothly running for students. All right. Well, unless there are any other questions, y'all are free to go. Again, I'll have the recording posted hopefully tomorrow. Actually, it's a short recording, so I might even be able to get it done tonight. We'll see. But just reach out if you have any questions or need anything. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Roy, was there anything else that you wanted to add before people hop off?
No, that's golden. As I said,
Okay.
I'll be in constant contact through that Metrish channel, and I can help out in any way possible.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last questions. So where are we going to host our meeting?
It'll
The
still be in
Kiva
that same mentor session Zoom link. Yeah. So the same link that you click to be able to join mentor sessions, you'll just click that same link and you'll be in the call together. Yeah. It'd be kind of like if you show up for a mentor session, but the mentor doesn't show up. It'd be one of those situations.
Okay.
Yep. That's a good question. Thank you. You're full of good questions, man. Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great first week. Reach out if you need anything.